G'day, Winter. Welcome to a season that's as unique as the land itself. So, what's the forecast down under? Let's take a closer look at what makes Australia's winter so fascinating. Al Roker here, ready to dive into Australia's wild winter weather, where every year brings new surprises and challenges. While we're soaking up the sun and enjoying longer days up north, Aussies are bundling up and wrapping up their winter season, experiencing a world that feels completely upside down. September 6th, 2025 marks the official end of their winter, and it's the perfect time to look back at what happened across this vast continent. Winter in Australia isn't just about chilly mornings and frosty breath, it's a season that's crucial for farmers planting crops, for replenishing water supplies, and for shaping daily life in both cities and the outback. So, what did we expect this year? Meteorologists were on high alert, watching every shift in the climate. The forecast helps everyone prepare, whether it's for sudden floods that can sweep through towns or droughts that leave the land parched and thirsty. Australia's weather is never just one story. Tropical Darwin basks in warmth while the snowy Alps in the south transform into a winter wonderland, all at the same time. This year the forecast was especially interesting, with mixed signals from the major climate drivers, El Niño, La Niña, and the Indian Ocean Dipole all playing their part. Sometimes these drivers work together, sometimes they clash, making things unpredictable and keeping everyone guessing. Our goal? To break down the complexity. So by the end of this chapter, you'll feel like a weather expert, ready to decode the next forecast yourself. We'll travel from the sun-drenched north to the chilly, snow-dusted south, exploring why some regions braced for heavy rain while others watched the skies in suspense hoping for a drop. No jargon here, just straight talk about the science behind the season, explained in a way that makes sense to everyone. So, let's get into your ultimate guide to Australia's winter of 2025, where every cloud, every chill, and every sunbeam tells a story. What was the headline for Australia's winter? Rain, lots of it, especially in the north and east. Forecast models pointed to a wetter-than-average season for much of the mainland. Queensland and New South Wales were told to keep umbrellas handy. This wasn't just scattered showers. Persistent, significant rainfall was expected all winter. But it wasn't just rain. Temperatures were forecast to be warmer than average, day and night. Warmer air holds more moisture, setting the stage for heavy downpours. So, you might not have needed your thickest coat, but a raincoat was essential. The south, including Perth, Victoria, and Tasmania, faced uncertainty. Models couldn't decide on wet or dry. This happens when climate drivers send mixed signals, making forecasts tricky. Australia's climate is unique. One region can prep for floods while another worries about drought. The theme, wet and warm for most, but a big question mark for the southern states. Everyone needed to stay tuned for local updates. Let's zoom in on the north and east, where the forecast screamed rain. From the top end through Queensland to New South Wales, a wetter-than-average winter was on the cards. This was unusual for the far north, where winter is usually dry. The main climate drivers were pulling moisture-rich air from the oceans, creating a conveyor belt of rain. This wasn't a one-off storm, but a trend for the whole season. Warmer seas fueled heavier, more intense rainfall. The risk of flash flooding and riverine flooding was high, especially in cities and regional areas. Residents and emergency services had to be ready for travel disruptions and impacts on farming. The message: enjoy the mild days, but be prepared for wild, wet weather. It was a season to stay weather-aware. Now let's head south, where the forecast was a real toss-up. For southwestern WA, Victoria, and Tasmania, models showed no clear signal. Wet or dry, it was anyone's guess. This equal chance forecast made planning tough, especially for farmers. The uncertainty came from climate drivers battling it out, some pushing for rain, others for dry skies. It was a meteorological tug-of-war with no clear winner. For cities like Melbourne and Hobart, it meant watching weekly forecasts closely. A small shift in climate drivers could mean sun or drizzle. The best advice: be ready for anything, from wet cold fronts to dry spells. For the south, winter was a nail-biter. Let's meet the climate drivers, the powerful engines behind Australia's ever-changing weather. These forces work behind the scenes, shaping everything from our sunniest days to our wildest storms. There are three main players in this climate crew: ENSO, or the El Niño Southern Oscillation, the IOD, or Indian Ocean Dipole, and SAM, the Southern Annular Mode. Each one has a unique role in steering Australia's weather patterns. Enso is like a giant seesaw in the Pacific Ocean, swinging between El Niño, La Niña, and neutral phases. These shifts can dramatically alter rainfall and temperature across the continent. When El Niño takes the lead, the east dries out, often bringing drought and heat waves. La Niña, on the other hand, brings wetter conditions and increased rainfall, while neutral means there's no strong push in either direction. This winter Enso was in a neutral phase, so the Pacific wasn't calling the shots, leaving room for other drivers to step in. That's where the IOD comes in. The Indian Ocean dipole can be positive, leading to drier conditions, or negative, which brings wetter weather to Australia. It's like a tug of war between dry and wet influences. This season, a negative IOD was likely, meaning more rain for central and southern Australia, filling dams, greening fields, and sometimes causing floods. With Enso neutral, the IOD took center stage, becoming the main influence on our winter weather. Then there's SAM, the southern annular mode, which is all about the powerful winds circling Antarctica. These winds can shift north or south, changing where rain falls in Australia. When SAM is positive, the south tends to be drier while the east gets wetter. A negative SAM flips the script, bringing more rain to the south and less to the east. This winter SAM was forecast to be positive or neutral, adding another layer of complexity to the southern outlook, and making predictions even trickier. These climate drivers don't work alone, they interact, sometimes amplifying each other's effects, sometimes canceling them out. Their dance creates a constantly shifting weather puzzle. The result? A fascinating, unpredictable setup that keeps meteorologists on their toes and Australians guessing what's next. Understanding these drivers is key to decoding the forecast and preparing for whatever the season might bring. So let's dive deeper and see exactly how these climate drivers shaped the season just gone by. Let's break down the climate drivers that shape Australia's weather and see how they interact to create the patterns we experience each year. Enso is the Pacific's superstar. La Niña piles warm water near Australia, bringing rain and often causing flooding in the east. These events can lead to lush landscapes and full rivers, but also challenge communities with too much water. El Niño, on the other hand, shifts that warm water away, drying things out and increasing the risk of drought and bushfires. The land can become parched and water supplies run low. When Enso is neutral, there's no big push in either direction. Weather patterns can be more stable, but surprises are still possible. The Indian Ocean Dipole, or IOD, is like a giant seesaw in the Indian Ocean, tilting weather patterns back and forth between wet and dry. A negative IOD tilts warm water toward Australia, fueling rain, especially in the center and south. This can bring much-needed moisture to farmlands and fill reservoirs. This year's likely negative IOD was the main reason for the wet forecast, setting the stage for above-average rainfall in many regions. SAM, or the Southern Annular Mode, is all about the winds circling Antarctica, which can shift north or south and change how weather systems move across Australia. When SAM is positive, it tightens the belt of winds, blocking rain from the south but steering extra moisture to the east, sometimes leading to heavy downpours there while the south stays dry. This year, a positive-leaning SAM fought against the wet IOD in the south, but helped boost rain in the east, making for a real tug-of-war between the climate drivers. So, we had a neutral Enso, a wet-leaning IOD, and a positive SAM, each pulling the weather in different directions, creating a patchwork of conditions across the country. It's a complex dance of ocean and atmosphere, with each driver playing its part and sometimes clashing or combining in unexpected ways. The interplay of these drivers made for a season full of surprises, with some regions drenched and others left waiting for rain. No single factor dominates, it's all about the mix, and how these powerful forces interact from week to week. That's why forecasting is both science and art, requiring skill, experience, and a bit of intuition to read the signs and predict what's next. This year the climate crew kept everyone guessing, as models shifted and forecasts changed with every new update. And that's what made winter 2025 so interesting. A season shaped by the push and pull of powerful climate drivers, and a reminder of just how dynamic Australia's weather can be. So what did this forecast mean for everyday Aussies? The biggest risk: heavy rain and flooding, especially in the north and east. Flash floods could hit cities, damaging homes, roads, and businesses. Warmer air and seas fueled more intense storms. Think rain bombs with huge downpours in short bursts. These events can trigger landslides and erosion, especially on already saturated ground. Agriculture felt the impact too. Too much rain can ruin crops and bog down machinery, while pests thrive in damp conditions. In drier regions, the worry was the opposite: not enough water for crops. Weather impacts food, livelihoods, and even supply chains. Flooded highways and rail lines disrupt deliveries and drive up prices. A major weather event in one region can ripple across the country. That's why seasonal forecasts matter. They help everyone plan ahead. Being prepared can minimize the fallout. The weather's reach goes far beyond the forecast. With a volatile winter on the cards, preparation was key. First tip: stay informed. Check daily forecasts and heed warnings from the Bureau of Meteorology. Have a reliable way to get alerts: apps, radio, or TV. If you're in a flood-prone area, know your risk and evacuation routes. Prepare an emergency kit: flashlight, radio, batteries, first aid, food, and water. If told to evacuate, do it. Safety first. Even outside flood zones, clean gutters and drains before heavy rain. Secure loose roof tiles and trim overhanging branches. Never drive through floodwaters. It's deadly and unpredictable. Remember, if it's flooded, forget it. A little preparation goes a long way. Smart steps keep you and your family safe, no matter the weather. That's your look at Australia's winter 2025. The season was shaped by a tug-of-war between climate drivers. Wet and warm for most, but uncertainty in the south. A negative IOD pumped moisture across the country, while a neutral ENSO took a back seat. Many communities faced high flood risk. The south watched and waited. The forecast showed just how complex Australia's climate can be. Key takeaway: be prepared and stay informed. Extra warmth and moisture meant more intense rain events and bigger impacts. Simple steps like cleaning gutters and having a plan made a difference. Understanding the climate drivers helps everyone make sense of the weather. I'm Al Roker. Stay safe, stay weather-wise, and always be ready for what's next.